The Feature Photography Award is sponsored by Seema Rubin of The Business of Entertainment. The citation goes to Thomas Minita of the New York Times for Cuba on the Edge of Change, and the award goes to Meridith Kohut of the New York Times for Inside Venezuela's Crumbling Mental Hospitals. Her moving images brought attention to the plight of people in Venezuela's state-run psychiatric hospitals, places that have been all but forgotten in that country's disintegration. Meridith, please come and get your award. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much, Lydia, and thank you so much to the OPC and everything that you guys do to support us on the journalists that are abroad. Like Hannah said when she was talking about Venezuela, a year ago, not many people were paying attention to Venezuela. It wasn't in the news. We heard about bread lines, and we heard about really not much else. And my editor, David First, called me at the beginning of the year, and he said, I think Venezuela needs some more in-depth reporting. And he said, I want you to really dig deep and find the stories, not only in Caracas, but deep into the interior, and really do justice to the crisis in Venezuela. Right now, Venezuela is in the throes of a severe economic crisis. It's called widespread food and medicine shortages as well. Patients with mental disorders are some of the most vulnerable and have endured the most suffering during this crisis. Over 85% of psychiatric medicines they need are either impossible or extremely difficult to attain. Without the drugs they need, their quality of life is severely diminished. At El Pampero Psychiatric Hospital, where all these photos were taken, it's a microcosm of the suffering faced by thousands of patients in public hospitals across the country. Inside, we found patients screaming and crying, curled in fetal positions on the floor, hallucinating. Several patients were locked in small isolation cells or tied to beds because there were no medicines to help them. The only thing they could do was isolate them to try to prevent them from hurting themselves or others. We met Yosmar, who attempted suicide when unmedicated. Omar, who weighed only 35 kilos because he didn't have enough to eat. And Cleophilia, who was attacked by her bunkmate in the middle of the night, who leapt on top of her, beat her, bit off her nose, and then swallowed it. Doctors said that she needed full reconstructive surgery, but because of the crisis, they didn't have the medical supplies to do it. The only thing they could do was to apply a bandage. To make matters worse, there are also shortages of much more than medicine. There isn't enough food, and most patients are underweight. There's running water for only a few hours a day, and no funds for any other supplies. There's no soap, no shampoo, no toothpaste, and no toilet paper. All of this in the country with the largest known oil reserves in the world. I struggled to accept this award for myself because the story and the photographs are so compelling, because they document an exceptional amount of suffering. These photos aren't exceptional because of what I did behind the camera, but for the valiant struggle of those captured in front of it. The patients and staff at El Pampero Hospital deserve the highest honors for their resilience despite facing overwhelming hardship on a daily basis. I dedicate this award to them, and the prize money will also be donated to them as well. The staff at El Pampero, like Hannah mentioned in her speech, it's illegal for journalists to go into the hospitals without permission from the government, which of course they never give. Doctors, patients, and even family members of patients, they literally risk their health and their jobs and their livelihoods to allow journalists to come in and show what's going on inside the walls. I'd also like to thank the New York Times for entrusting me to tell this story and for giving me the amount of time and resource it takes to report hard-to-tell stories well. Special thanks to Nick Casey and Anna Vanessa of the New York Times Bureau in Caracas, to Michelle McNally, and most of all to my absolutely brilliant photo editor, David First, for your endless advice and unwavering support throughout this project. Thank you.